This is the Allison in Wonderland Mental Health Podcast with your host, Allison Frye.
This is the place that looks through the looking glass and falls down the rabbit hole while discussing mental health.
Join this journey that isn't just about putting mental health into a box that is only about anxiety, depression, or other common topics.
Allison in Wonderland is about everything that is in that box, as well as all of the things that don't quite fit into a box.
Here's your host, mental health advocate, Allison Frye.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Allison in Wonderland Mental Health Podcast. We have an amazing guest today, and I will let him introduce himself in a moment. But first, I just want to remind everyone, I am not a doctor. I will talk about mental health, and I will talk about, things that I may do for stress relief or depression and things like that. But please talk to your doctor if you are planning on making any kind of a change when it comes to your mental health. If you are in a state of crisis, please call 911 or go to your nearest emergency room. The National Suicide Hotline has recently changed their number to 988, which can be texted or called at any time if you're in crisis. So now that we got all of that out of the way, James, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, how you doing? My name is James Cox, and I just turned 43 yesterday.
Ooh, happy birthday!
Yes, on January 5th, I turned 43. I'm old. I'm not, I don't want to ask your age because I've been told that's impolite to ask women.
I'm 40, but no one believes it.
You don't, right? I don't believe you at all. I think you're about 34.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm 40, but I'm aging gracefully.
Yes. Yeah, but I am. I have cerebral palsy, and if you don't believe me, that my walker is right there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. I mean, most people believe me because I do work at Outback now. I've had a plethora of jobs over the years, and yeah, so that's me in a nutshell, kind of, sort of.
Awesome. Where are you located?
I am in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm going to move to Lexington, South Carolina pretty soon, hopefully.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Kentucky. I was like, wait, I'm in Kentucky. I'm in the mountains of Kentucky.
Okay, so you're in like the boonies, huh? Way up there.
Yeah, so you go to the middle of nowhere and then drive another hour. And that's where I am. But we lived in Atlanta, and when my youngest son graduated, we moved to a farm in the mountains, and it looks like the Shire outside. Like, I'm surprised there aren't little hobbits running around.
Right.
It's beautiful.
That's a good. I think that the Lord of the Rings is like one of the best trilogy movies of all time. So.
I know. I haven't watched the new Amazon series because I want to rewatch the movies before I do it. And already, see, I told you I would get chatty and we'd get off topic.
That's perfectly fine with me, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we have a couple of things that I definitely want to get into. And the first thing that really made me super interested in talking to you was music therapy. So, and I haven't researched it at all because I wanted to learn it about it the same time as everyone that listens. I wanted to, from you. But the reason that it sounded like it resonated with me is that I absolutely suck at being mindful. Mindfulness, meditation, I suck at it so bad. I've tried to go to yoga where you're like laying there and being mindful. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got all these other things I could be doing. But when I want to quiet my mind, I pick a song, I turn on the record, and I sing along. I have no musical talent whatsoever. I actually got fired from my voice teacher. My vocal teacher 2 years ago fired me because she said like she could not, there was nothing she could do for me. But I will sing I'll stand there and sing like a Disney princess when no one's around. I'll scream with it in the car. I'll throw my vinyl on, crank up some Van Morrison, be like super, and I also basically only like music from before the 80s. So music therapy really resonated with me because I was like, wait, am I doing a kind of mindfulness that I don't even realize? So I know that that's something that, you really are very in depth in, but I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the journey that led you there and then talk about it, really just whatever works for you, because I'm very interested.
Okay. Well, like you, I can't sing worth a lick either, so I'm right there with you too.
We could start a
Um,
band,
oh, right, yeah, the non-singer, like,
the non-singers.
yeah, but everybody tells me that I can't sing, but I'm like, I don't know if you're telling me the truth or not. That's kind of a, no, I can't. I say, I hear my own voice, and I'm like, and that's not, you don't want me to be on a song or something, But yeah, music therapy. Okay, so I am not a doctor, so I don't know any technical, things. But you don't need to know technical things when it comes to music, because music is a motivational tool, and it is a huge stress reliever. And I can guarantee you this: it cures depression to the max. Because anytime that I'm being uh depressed, I guess you would say, um, I turn on music and it just cheers me up 100%. And I've actually seen it live before too, because
That's
yeah, we're gonna talk about that live too, because I have a podcast also. That's where you met me on. I think you met me on. You found me on a podcast. Yes, I come right.
Yeah, and so you have
Yeah.
the podcast, it's when music fails, or no, when words fail, music
Speaks.
that's where it was. Yeah. I almost said, yeah, I got it backwards at first, but
Oh,
yes,
that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
I love that. I want that like on a sign on my wall.
Well, so you can find that. Find that statement anywhere you go when words fail, music speaks. The reason why I got that, the reason why I thought that would be a good name is one day I was you probably remember this at the Total Request Live. That
Yes.
Carson Daly, we're old, um,
TRL, Carson Daly.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but I was watching that. I mean, I'm so glad we have YouTube now to bring back the memories. But I saw that on YouTube one day, and a bunch of people were coming out of a concert, and one of the interviewees was asking them, what does music mean to you, right? And this one girl says, well, she's like, when words fail, music speaks, and that just resonated to me. And yeah, so I mean, we're going on 3 years, February. 225 episodes now. So it's been a long journey, but it's been so great. It's been so healing to me that it makes me feel kind of like an honor kind of doing this podcast for people, because I never want people to feel depressed as depressed as I am when I do feel depressed. And music just hints at 150,000%. You
I
know?
I agree completely, and yeah, and I checked out the podcast, and I'm like, it's so amazing. Very humbled that you would join mine in the stages of infancy,
Yeah.
as we're so early on. But I was thinking about it, and before we hopped on the call, I was thinking about those songs that make me feel better. And I think what's really interesting is, so I have 5 cats. I know that's a lot. 4 of them are named after Futurama characters, but
Oh,
one is named Moonshadow, because I always wanted a black cat named Moonshadow after the Cat Stevens song. And so, like,
okay, yes.
and when I sing that song to him, he knows it's his song. It is
Really?
so sweet. Yes, it's the sweetest thing. But even as a kid, like, I knew that one, because my mom was allergic to cats. So I knew when I grew up, I wanted to get a black cat, and I wanted to name it Moonshadow. So, I mean, it's just, you think about those ways that music kind of affects you throughout your life. And I've known that, at, half the people that are listening to this probably have no idea who Cat Stevens is, but there it
Well,
is.
I think way back when he changed his name to Yusuf.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who Cat Stevens is, it's Yusuf. But yeah, Cat Stevens is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, Peace Train and Wild World. have you seen Rock the Casbah with Bill Murray? It's a Netflix movie.
I have not, but I'm writing it down right now.
The lead role, the girl in that movie it's based on a true story, and she loved Cat Stevens to death. She sang Wild World, but it was in her country, and women back then could not sing, couldn't do anything at all. And
Yeah.
so she was the very first one who joined the competition and won. So
Wow.
it's all about him going there and trying to sign her to like a record deal, and her dad going crazy because it's a wonderful movie. But yeah, Cat Stevens is like a prominent role. His songs is a prominent role in that movie for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that this weekend. So I could never remember lullabies when my kids were little. I could never remember the words to lullabies. And I didn't ever think about how dark Moon Shadow is as a song until I was singing it as a lullaby to my child. And so I actually kept the chorus and rewrote the verses as a lullaby to them. And maybe one day I will get up the nerve to sing it and record it somewhere. But it was very much more like, instead of the "if I ever lose my eyes," it's like "if you ever lose your way out," and it talks about being there, and like if you ever fall. So it's
Right.
definitely like more, I think, uplifting because I couldn't remember lullabies, but I can
Right.
remember Moonshadow.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of the song Lullaby, but Moonshadow, yeah, it's a great. That's like one of the greatest songs.
Yeah. So I mean, you talked about, seeing that girl say that about when words fail, music speaks, and I think you're right. I feel like I have seen that places before. It really does say a lot.
Well, I see. Oh, okay, so if you go to Michael's or like Hobby Lobby, you'll see that signature on like all kinds of merchandise. It's like everywhere. Yeah.
Hey, you're branded everywhere. You didn't have to pay for it.
I am. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so really, what led you down the path of, wanting to share how music therapy can help with depression?
Uh, so I've had podcasts before this one, and I've had 7 of them. And all didn't do so too well. Um, one was built around communication, and I didn't really know how to do that one. 'Cause I know that like you and I are communicating right now, but I don't know how to turn it into like a podcast, a weekly episode.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. But
And,
there's a
yeah,
limitless amount of mental health things to talk about.
right, yeah, but and then I had one. It's called James versus Life. Around me, but I'm really not that entertaining to be around. Because I don't really like talking about myself on I don't really talk about myself with myself. Because I
Yeah.
just have me, and that was it. I gotta have somebody else to share the same sentimental value that I do. And I've had secondhand banter podcasts, and I don't know, they all never really took off, right? So when I was in Starbucks with my friend Mark, he's like, "Well, you know a lot about music because I'm blown away with a lot of information. Like that's this guy and he sings this." I'm like, "Holy crap! How do you?" I'm like, "I know about music, man." And he
Yeah.
says, well, since you know a lot about music and you want to start a podcast now, you should combine them together and start one." I'm like, that's a good point. So I found a great guy by the name of Blake Mosley. He's my co-host, and on the show I call him Brosley, and then he named himself Emo Bemo.
Emo Memo.
Emo Bemo, yeah, because it's Blake Mosley Bemo and emo because that was his favorite genre back in the day.
Back in the day when everybody was super emo.
Yeah,
Half
yeah.
of the listeners won't know what that is either.
No, for the listeners don't know what emo means, but I mean it's some great music. Don't get me wrong, but that's for
But also definitely a genre of music that's very much about your feelings. I mean,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I asked him, and he's like, "Let's set it up," So we started about well, now almost 3 years ago to February. Like I said before, and we've done a lot of episodes. We're on 225 now, and what the show basically discusses is mental health, like this show does, uh, and um, and we have a couple of series on it. We have our main show, which is Monday or Tuesday show, depending on whenever we get it out. And that show revolves around we pick either one genre or one artist, band, and we discuss about their discography, their life, how they got to where they got, are today. And then we have one called Cover Wars, and then we do 3 series of Cover Wars. One of them is with me and Rosalie. And what Cover Wars is we go out and ask our guests what song do they like the most. I go out and find 2 covers of that one song, have them come on, we listen to them live together, and we discuss which one we like better, worse, or equal. You know,
I like that.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
and
how many covers of Ring of Fire are there?
a lot,
A
a
lot.
lot, a lot. So we do that with musicians. We invite the musicians that have been on before, come back on, and they love it. And now we're going to open it to the public. So anybody can come on Wars, and we would love to have you come on and just experience that too. On the upside of that, all that stuff, we interview musicians, and my first interview was with one of my best friends, Philip Rowe. I've known him through high school, so he knows all about me and what I do. And I asked him to come on, and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, because you got to start somewhere, Because
Yeah.
I try to. Have you heard of a guitarist named Nick Strauss?
Yes.
She plays for Alice Cooper now,
Yeah.
and she used to be part of the Iron Maidens.
Mhm.
So when I started this podcast, I aimed really, really high. I tried to get her on, without to no avail. She didn't come on yet, but she will. So I mean, you gotta start somewhere, And who better to start it with than one of your good friends from you know high school.
Yeah.
So I decided to go with that, and we've interviewed around 80 to 90 musicians so far. So we've interviewed people that you may not have heard of, people you've heard of. I mean, we do all kinds of ranges: country music, country, rap, rock, metal, um, and I think we've had some pianists and we've had a violinist come on. So
That's
that
exciting. It's exciting to have so many people talking about music and how it affects mental health. I know that years ago, very shortly after I lost my brother as a result of suicide, someone told me about the organization To Write Love on Her Arms. And so that organization was for a while they were having, and I don't know if they still do, they would have different artists wear their shirt that's To Write Love on Her Arms, and it was an advocacy group for suicide prevention and against self-harm and things like that. So I remember seeing, like the girl from Paramore wearing their shirt, and Evanescence wearing their shirt. And so for a while, that's kind of the same idea. They were having musicians basically tell people without telling people that, hey, don't hurt yourself. Hey, suicide prevention. So it's like a really great way of the outreach. And then I met with someone that I'm going to put you in touch with a couple of weeks ago, and she's toured a couple of times with an organization that does something similar called This Is My Brave, where musicians do outreach for mental health also. So I just think it's so cool because it's obviously music. I mean, have you ever known anybody that didn't like music at all? Really?
uh, If they tell you that, then they're probably lying because I mean, you gotta like music. Come on now. You hear it on TV all the time, car radio. But I know a person who says they don't listen to music, but they didn't really say that they don't like music. You know?
Yeah, I get that. Well, I have really bad ADD, so I don't listen to music during the day when I'm working because I will type the words. So it's funny
Okay.
because yeah, like
Yeah.
so it's like I have to super hyper focus when I'm working during the day, but I just think it's so amazing that so many people, like including yourself, are like, hey, music heals and music can help. And so I'm curious, do you have like a go-to song? You're depressed
Ah,
and you're like,
yeah.
what's my go-to song?
I'm so glad you asked me that because okay, so what's your favorite genre of all time?
I'm really big into 80s rock anthems.
I love you for that.
The
Well,
number one song the day I was born was Eye of the Tiger, and so that's my anthem for
Survivor.
life.
Yeah. Yes, Rocky. I'm sure you've seen Rocky.
Oh
First,
yeah. 80s kid right here.
right? Yeah, me too. I'm born in '80, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I fell in love with country music when I was pretty much a kid because my mom and dad raised me on country music.
Yeah, mine
Uh,
did too. Until I was 12 and started listening to my own stuff, it was all country music.
See, I listened to Metallica nonstop when I turned 14, 15.
Green Day when I turned 12. All
Green Day,
Green Day.
yeah, Green Day is the name too. But yeah, but lately I just fell in love. Well, I've fallen in love with a country artist named Eric Church. If you've ever heard from him, please look him up. Um, there's two songs that gets me out of the funk any day of the week. Um, one song is called Talladega,
Hey, I'm
and
from Alabama, so
hey,
Talladega.
yeah, Talladega, yeah. So I don't know what it is about that song that just gets me out of the funk. But there's some songs where you can't tell anybody how it makes you feel inside. You know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So like my go-to vinyl is my Van Morrison. And I
Uh,
get so mad when you talk about Van Morrison and they're like brown-eyed girl and I'm like seriously, that is
no.
nothing. Crazy Love, Moon Dance, like there are these beautiful songs. So that's like really I just absolutely love Van Morrison. And then my son listens to just the craziest mix of music. He'll be listening to stuff from the 70s and then listening to like Irish pub songs and stuff like that. So he's turned me on to a few things. But I think that when I'm looking back at like the country music from like my parents listened to, there are a lot of older country music songs that I really love. But what's really funny is so I've been married for 21 years and
All
like
right.
my entire adult life and we never had a song. And I don't really listen to much country music anymore. And we bought this farm, and then I heard that song Buy Dirt. I Jordan Davis. So it's a country song, Buy Dirt. And it just so perfectly encompassed the step that we had in our life. And so like after 21 years, we now have a song and it's a country song.
Yeah. But speaking back on Van Morrison, Brown Eyed Girl is great, but for me, it compares nothing to Into the Mystic.
Yeah, I don't have anything against Brown Eyed Girl. I just feel like
I think it's
people stop there. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's Van Morrison." And that's like the hit radio song, you know? That's your top 40 Van Morrison. Let's get the real stuff.
well, if one song is overplayed, of course they're gonna say that song is the greatest song ever, without listening to half of his catalog. You know.
Yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
so. I mean, I think Van Morrison's like a really good uh music to listen to if you're deep in depression or anxiety. You know, people
Yeah,
have that. But the other the Eric Church song that I really like is "Round Here."
around
That's
here.
got It's got a nice beat to it, melody, mellow. I mean, he doesn't get too loud, doesn't get too soft. Perfect song for, just chill out with. Um, those two songs are really the go-to songs that I found out more about me growing up more, feeling depressed. There's other songs, but there's nothing like those two songs that'll, put me at ease.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, and also like kind of going back to the cover wars and country music. My son's first concert, we went and saw Home Free. And so Home Free does covers and they're an a cappella group. They mainly do covers of country music. They do In the Blood. And I've never felt like an emotional connection with it. But when
Right.
they do it, it like speaks so true to me. Like it's the same words, but they just present it in a different way. And it's definitely one of those where it talks about how much of your love will be crazy like your mother. Like so much of it like relates to like my
Yeah.
life and I can feel it. And I don't know, it never touched me the way that it does the way they sing it for some reason. So it really is about the way it's presented. So they're a good band to bring on for cover wars, I tell you what.
Well, see, the thing with cover wars is it's so special to me and Blake, because it brings attention to people we made that I've never heard of before,
Yeah.
and I go out and find people that I've never heard of before. Because if I had never heard of it before, there's a possibility you have never heard of it before. 'Cause
Yeah, I'm one of those people that's really terrible with the names of the song and the artist, but I can sing every single word that goes with it. My
right.
little sister, her dad was my stepdad. He raised her like on a really great music education. Like she was raised right with music. So she might be your rival on the
I
music
mean,
knowledge.
well, okay, so the thing about with me and Rosalie, I'm Blake for people who, um, if if I don't know something about music, he can answer you with like seconds.
Yeah.
Because every time he says that he always says, um, he is the master of like useless music knowledge. I'm like, he's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean stuff that you would never even think of, he knows. I'm like, how do you know that? He's like, I just know it.
It's just
Kind
in
of
my
like
head.
so. Yeah, it's just in my head. Because there's a lot of information to be filled up in our brains, and I think that ours is more music than anything else. I can't do math to save my life, but if it has to be music, I mean, I'm there. you know,
Yeah, I don't have all of the music trivia knowledge, but I can sit and sing along to just about all of the songs. So that
yeah, right.
that's it. I absolutely agree. I think music therapy as something, and obviously neither one of us are doctors, but I mean, you've got two people here that have dealt with depression and anxiety and are saying, yes, music makes me feel better. So to me,
Yeah,
that seems like I'm not saying, hey, don't go to your doctor because music will make you feel better, but hey, on the way to your doctor, crank up some music.
yeah. Yeah, because please don't ignore the doctor because just in case you hear a good song and it feels like to you, I mean, like 45 minutes later, you might be down in yeah. So doctors are a important facilitator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and yeah, so I'm absolutely not saying replace it, but to me, I feel like I keep failing at these mindfulness exercises, and maybe I just need to take that time that I'm failing at mindfulness and just sit and listen to a record, and that be my mindfulness exercise. I think that that would probably work for me. So I think that's really cool. So tell me a little bit about like your college experience, those years
Oh,
of your life.
so I did work at college, but before that, I went there for 2 years. So I went to college in Sumter, South Carolina. CCTC, Central Carolina Technical College, and like I said, I went there for 2 years. Couldn't pass college because of some math. Math sucks. And I don't know why they push you to use like trigonometry or geometry. I'm like, I'm never going to use it ever in my life,
Ever. Yeah, I know.
except if I'm like an architect or, one of these builders. I don't get it. But I wanted to take photography, so I looked into the College of Charleston, I think, because they had a photography um area. But I had to pass math, science. You had to go through year one and year two with useless knowledge of you know
Yep.
all these courses first. I'm like, why? There's no, it's like, am I gonna tilt my camera 45 degrees and that? Yeah, no,
It,
yeah,
yeah. It's
ridiculous.
if you're not building buildings or having to prescribe medicine, like why do you need all that math?
There's no need for it, right? Yeah, so I'm done with college. So I left college in I can't remember, probably 2002 and 2003. I got hired there, working there, for a Shauna Parker. She's my first boss, greatest boss ever made. I don't care what you say about it. Uh, but yeah, but I worked there for 10 years, as the help desk of computers. Because I was really into computers. My mom and dad got me a computer when I was 14, 15. And, because I couldn't get out
You
like
get the dial up and the AOL disc.
right. American Online, yeah. Yeah,
You
kids
have
just,
mail.
yeah, yes, that was my favorite thing ever. The kids don't know about AOL to this day because,
Uh, Yeah, they don't understand like screaming at your mom because you just got connected and she picked up the phone.
oh yeah, I mean, I can tell you days that like that, Um, but yeah, I did the help desk for 10 years. And then I left that job 10 years later because I left that job in 2016 because I was just not having it. I was bored and wasn't feeling well about it. I was going nowhere. You can
Yeah.
get promoted up. So then I left that job. I worked for a company called Computer Operators, building computers, machines and whatever. I'm taking inventory. And then I left that job because that job didn't satisfy me either. You couldn't get promoted, of course not.
Yeah.
And then I went to public library. I sat there for the computer area there too.
Yeah.
You can see where this is going, right? Computer. And then I got the idea to move out of the house because you never want to stay with your mom and dad until
Yeah.
uh right. So I was 30 something. I don't know. I found this company called the Arc of Dominion. Oh no, United Cerebral Palsy, and
Mm-hmm.
they deal with their they got the person out of the house and lived on their own. Took them, grocery shopping. Took them to and from work. So I checked out them, and they turned me to the Arc of Dominions, where they do the exact same thing. They're just a different company.
Mm-hmm.
But they said you need to have Medicaid, which I didn't have. I had Medicare. So I fought with the government for a year and a half, and I finally got Medicaid. So then I went to Lexington in 2017. I lived on my own since then, since 2017. And in those years, um, there I worked for Dave and Buster's as a host, and now I'm working as a host for Outback.
That's
So
really
I've done a lot of stuff, and I'm handicapped, so I don't know if that means anything to anybody over your listeners. But I always say if I can do it, come on, man, anybody can, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting though that like you there have sometimes if the organizations if you don't know about them then you don't know what services you really need. And I think that that can be said about medical issues, mental health issues if you don't know what systems are there. And that's a big gap that like people not knowing what systems are there that can, are really the right fit, like just the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. I would never know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. Someone would have to tell me.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's a really good progression. And in that time, you've done what, 7 different podcasts? Um,
Yep. This is
that's a
the eighth one. Eighth
yeah.
one took eighth one took hold, and I'm just,
Yeah,
uh,
that's really it is really impressive because I mean, you think about all the people that are like, "Hey, I can't find a job, I can't work." And if when people are willing to work, that like get out there and get a job, because I also see all of the signs. I think that that's the thing, is it's like, just be willing to work, and then that's it, and keep trucking on. um it is hard too when you get to a place where they just aren't going to move you up anymore. It's like, this is the position you're at, and for whatever reason sometimes people won't move you up because they don't want to lose you from the spot you're in. It's just, I hate office politics. It's such a
right. Yeah.
nightmare.
Well, see, I find it to be like a 50-50 give and take motion because, yeah, you gotta look for a job and you gotta want to work there, but then you have certain jobs that you have to have experience with this and this and this, right? And it
Yeah.
goes back to college, right? I mean, because if you don't have any experience, how are you going to work? How are you going to get that experience if it doesn't work? So I think it's like a 50-50 give and take,
Yeah,
Um,
when I am the hiring manager, I love to hire people with no experience, but that seem
yeah,
really hungry to learn, because then they
yeah,
can learn on the job. So, I mean, I got married when I was 18, and I kind of fell into a marketing career, like accidentally, like it just kind of happened. Because I like started as a receptionist, and then I moved through these different jobs, and when they created a marketing coordinator position, I went for that, and that's how I ended up in marketing. And I didn't get degrees until years later. Um, After my brother passed away in 2007, pursued a degree in psychology, not so much for the degree, but because I needed to know more. I needed to understand more. And then after that, I got my master's in forensic psychology, because for some reason I thought that I was going to go work for like the FBI.
right. Oh, that would be fun. That would have been hilariously fun.
I would not, I am not the person, but forensic psychology seemed super interesting. But now I just have mounds of student loan debt for things that don't have anything to do with the career that I'm in. And so, like, I really feel like people need to give people more opportunities to learn on the job than go learn useless information at school, because I struggled with those math classes too. And I'll just give you a hypothetical. So hypothetically, if I was in college taking classes online at the same time as my sister was in college taking classes online, and she's not really great at HTML but had to build a website, and I'm not really great at math, hypothetically, you could trade those classes.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I took did you train on Dreamweaver? Like,
I've done Dreamweaver. I'm a WordPress developer now, but I honestly, I learned HTML from MySpace.
yeah, yeah. Because I learned HTML. From my as well.
MySpace.
But before that, I had to take HTML classes at high school, and then I took Dreamweaver in college, and I've learned Dreamweaver. They don't do Dreamweaver anymore. That now it's just click and drag, which is beautiful. Love that. Um, yeah, but HTML really didn't work well for me, but I passed the class. So I mean, there's so many different coding languages. It's all I learned was basic. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, like
So,
that's my thing. I was trying to do something on my website the other day, and I was like just at like W3 schools, and I was just like, because it has like all these cute like little bitty HTML tips, because I was trying to figure out how to do like a read more button, and it took me hours. And I was like,
yeah,
this is, how do people do this?
right.
But I mean, I think it's really important to note, like, I think that we're gonna have to hit a turning point where you can't expect everyone to have experience and a college degree to have a job. It does, like, how do you have experience and a college degree? It's really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's great that you were able to find the systems to help know how it needed to be aligned, and find out that Medicaid was what you needed instead of Medicare. I would have never known that. Like,
But yeah,
So
Well, so ever since school, ever since I started going to school, my mom has been a big advocate for me. She had to fight like tooth and nail to get me the classes line I need. I was in special education for most of the time during school, but the rest of the time I was in like the regular classes. But she really took to it to give me like a good education. But she said, if you want to move out and live on your own, you have to do this by yourself. And I'm like, bet. So I went out and I found UCP, and they told me about the Medicaid, and I fought with the government for about a year. And I did, and that's really unique that I waited that long, because the government takes their time and everything.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so when I told that to my to the manager of the Arc, she was super impressed that I've followed the government and got what I needed to
Yeah.
live on my own, and she was amazed. So yeah, I mean, more of the story is don't give up, because if you give up, you never know what you can accomplish.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I think that's really important. I know a lot of my hardships were when I was younger, and I look back and I kind of and I'll tell people about, experiences from my childhood, and they look at me like they're like, "Oh my God, how are you a functioning member of society?"
Yeah, like what?
but
Yeah,
but at the same time, that's what led me down this journey because of the loss of my mom and my brother as a result of suicide. I wasn't the only one going through all those things. We were all in it together. And I understand you also, unfortunately, have your own experience with those losses.
right. Yeah. It's funny. First of all, I want to thank you so much for bringing up suicide, because I think that now in society, more and more people don't take that seriously as it should be. Um, as I stated before we got on here, I lost my cousin and my uncle to suicide, and I think that's the my uncle. He left us in 2005, I think. Maybe, I don't know. I got to ask my mom, but that was his brother, and yeah, yeah. I don't remember. Well, I do remember the day that it happened. But we had to go to Mississippi for his funeral, and I don't think it really messed me up at the funeral as much as it did after it. Because when somebody dies, anybody that dies, I mean, for some people it takes like a week or something, like a couple of days to realize they're gone, and you don't know what to
Yeah.
do because they're not there. So when my uncle and cousin died, it really shook me afterwards. And, because of course I cried for the funeral, but I'm not really understanding why per se, because
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knows the pain and suffering that. Well, I'm sure everybody knows, because everybody had the father, mother, a brother, sister die on them. And it's never fun. So I'm and it's a different feeling when they go by suicide, because it's like, on one hand, you're like, well, what can I do more that I didn't do before?
Yeah.
The other side is, that was selfish that you didn't ask for help. Anybody would help you, but in turn, they might have asked for it, but they're not physically asking for it. Because people who think about suicide really doesn't come out and say, "Hey, they give you hints," and you
Yeah.
really got to be very eye opened to those hints.
That's one of my things too. After my brother passed away, I basically interrogated everyone, and I didn't realize that until later, but I was asking everybody that was connected to him questions. And it was kind of like I kept getting pieces to this puzzle where everybody had these little bitty pieces of information that were obvious signs that he needed help, but no one had the whole picture. And so, like, he was asking for help, but nobody, but we didn't all sit and have a conversation. We didn't know that he was asking for help. So
Right.
like but you go through those what ifs when you lose someone as a result of suicide. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? What if I had known this other thing? And then you just kind of go crazy thinking about those things. But
Right.
the grief thing, and how you react to when you react, that's what I always tell people. I may know somebody that's gone through almost exactly the same thing I have, but I can't really say I know how you feel, because when I lost my brother and when I lost my mother, I grieved in two very different ways. So it's interesting, um, because I'm like, it just depends on where that person is in their life and what that relationship dynamic was like. And it's really, it's hard because like like you said, like, you're at the funeral and you were crying, but you didn't really know why. I mean, you seem like a very empathetic person. You may have been crying because you were feeling that emotion, and
Yeah.
then the thought of what happened really sunk in later, and that's when your grief really held. Because I'm one of those people where if somebody in front of me is crying, I am sitting there crying with them, because that's just
Yeah.
how it is. But when my brother passed away, and I completely fell apart. I couldn't function. I cried. My mom actually got mad at me because she thought that I was like, she
Mhm.
had lost her child, and she didn't think that I should be as upset as she was. So um there's a segment that I'm going to add to this podcast that's going to be called "Shit Not to Say When People Are Grieving," based on some of the horrible things people have said and I've heard other people say. So it's one of these little segments that I have written down. I think you bring up a really good point with that. Like, you don't, part of you is like, what if I had done something better? And then there are those people that are like, hey, that was selfish. But people that in their life as a result of suicide, there's more going on than anybody realizes. And it's not like they're doing it to hurt someone. My brother started his letter with, "Do not mourn my loss. I am going to a better place." And I think he truly believed that that would make it okay for us. And so that was not selfish. That was him trying to tell us, I'm not going to put my pain on you guys. And I'm not saying that makes it okay, but I
Right.
don't think it was selfish. I think that we didn't know that he needed the help that he needed.
Right. Yeah. Because just like you said before with your mother, it's like she can imagine you not wanting to cry during the, everybody's different, I mean, some people need that moment of clarity, like, okay, well, he's not here.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people don't realize that until after or months after, it just, it varies from person to person.
Yeah. And then to bring it back to music, when my brother died, my sister really wanted Smashing Pumpkins' version of Landslide played. So we're going through Target back when you would find CDs and put them in the CD player, 'cause it's 2007. We're like crying as we walk through Target trying to find this one CD so that we can play Smashing Pumpkins'
That's a good,
Landslide.
that's a
At
good.
I personally am a big Fleetwood Mac fan, obviously, but it was very specific to her that she wanted it to be the Smashing Pumpkins Landslide. So then once again, it takes us back to the music. And then when my mother passed away, my aunt sang Amazing Grace, because that was very tied to, my mom and her beliefs and the family's beliefs. And I think that it all comes back to music.
With my podcast, I actually seen people feel better about it, feel better like listening to music. Because there's a guy, you probably need to look him up too, because he's just a genius and a good soul. His name is Ed Roman, Roman, and I've had him on the podcast a few times, and he's from Canada. And before we recorded a cover wars, I did it on cover wars with him. He was going through a really tough time, some family issues and whatever. So he was really, really down before we started recording. And then his favorite song is "I Shot the Sheriff," Bob Marley.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so we listened to the first song. He really wasn't, lighting up like like I thought he was gonna do. But then we listened to the second song, and his eyes and his whole like narrative, boom, like lifted up, and he was jamming the song and singing with. Yeah, it's like great. I was like, oh, awesome. So I know that it works also because of that. And my co-host, sometimes you come on, we record, and he's like, I'm not killing this dude, and I'm like, let's just go, let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
Let's let the music
After
lead us.
after the episode, oh, like cured. Like I don't want to say cured totally because I mean, but
But
for
lifted up from their
yeah,
moods lifted.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually seen it work in real time. You know,
Well, I really like it. I love the concept. I'm going to start trying to use music as my mindfulness exercise.
yeah,
Everybody talks about mindfulness, and I am just terrible at it. I really am.
yeah.
Like, I just cannot sit and be quiet with my mind. Um, so,
You gotta always be doing something, right?
yeah, exactly. But music seems like the perfect way for me to. So I'm definitely going to work on that being like my replacement for mindfulness. And I'm not telling people that mindfulness is not important. I'm just telling you I suck at it. Like I've tried and I am not good at it. So
Um, since you like 80s metal or 80s rock music, who is your favorite band of all time?
oh my
Do you
gosh,
have one?
it's so hard to say who like your favorite band of all time is.
It is, 'cause I have a few.
If we're talking like 80s bands, Queen is gonna have to be up there because their music, since they all wrote, it's such a variety,
Yeah,
like but Queen would definitely be in there. When in the 90s, Gin Blossoms was like definitely my jam.
yeah.
Um,
Okay,
uh,
so
yeah.
for me, look this band up too. It's a metal band. It's Black Label Society. They're
Okay.
really fun to listen to. Another great band. That I don't think a lot of people. Well, I know a lot of people for this band. It's Soundgarden. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Cornell is like the best male singer ever made because his voice just transcends, like for me, time and space. I mean, he has such a unique voice that I don't think anybody can ever replicate.
Yeah, I know. That's yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I just
Uh,
love it to death.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, oh, you know what? Favorite artist? Probably Dolly Parton.
There you go. Well, yeah, oh, did you see her? And Rob Howe from Judas Priest sing Jolene?
I did. I did.
Yeah,
It's funny because like I'm such a nerd and I go to fan conventions and I do cosplay and I've met all these celebrities and I never get flustered. And I was thinking about it one day and I was like really trying to think very hard, who would I get so flustered by? And the only person I could come up with was Dolly Parton. Like I would
well,
be
I've heard
so
that.
overwhelmed if I met
Oh,
Dolly Parton.
I've had a few of those things. Doing this podcast, this really brought me to come to terms with being shy, coming out of my shyness.
Yeah.
Um, but I would tell you the person who I was really like nervous to talk to, two people, well, three. A country artist named Buddy Jewel.
Okay.
Super nervous to meet him. Okay. Second one, I don't know if you heard of Demon Hunter.
I think so. Yeah.
Great band. Yogi Watts, the drummer, super nervous. And like all time nervousness comes in the form of David Ellison from Megadeth.
Yeah,
Megadeth has, yeah, 80s metal, right? But yeah, but Megadeth it has been one of my favorite bands of all time since I don't know when. Them and Metallica. And I
yeah.
met and I met Kirk Hammett twice. And
Really?
didn't get wasn't shy meaning him. Was shy meaning David Ellison for some reason I don't know why. And he was virtual. So he was like at his house, at my house, and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not even, I'm not even like 1,600 feet away, and I'm still. I was like, oh my god, I can do, yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there are times when I got super nervous, but my friend says, why are you nervous? It's just like you and me. I'm like,
They're just a person. Yeah.
so I flip it on my head. I want to treat them as they would, treat me if I were in their shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing too, is you don't know if you're going to be starstruck until you meet someone. So the
Right.
first time I took my kids to Dragon Con with me, and people may not know this actor, his name's Eddie McClintock. He was in Warehouse 13. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. He kind of jokes and says that he's like the guy famous for being on shows that get canceled. So he's been in a whole, like, he's been in episodes of everything. And Warehouse 13 on Sci-Fi Channel, he was on that for 5 seasons. But we went up and met him, and my kids were with me, and he couldn't believe that my boys were my boys, obviously, because they're like taller than me and I look like I'm 12. And then he starts asking for parenting advice. And when we walk away, my son's like, oh my God, did Eddie McClintock just ask you for parenting advice? And I'm like, yeah, he has a teenage son. Like, we're people. We're just talking to each other like people.
Yeah, because as soon as you know that, then I mean the rest of the check can be 100% easy. Um,
But Dolly Parton's a force to be reckoned with. I think I might
yeah,
get
yeah.
nervous around her. But I have a feeling she's one of those that loves everyone when she meets them.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, because she's all I mean, I can never find an interview where she hasn't been super duper nice to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So I know I always so I like musicals too, and I was watching The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas a little while ago, like with her in it, and I was just like, this is just like, it's just so funny because she's just like so sweet and petite, but then she's like in this show, and it's everything that she does. Like, I like 9 to 5. Like, I love those things. I was watching a documentary about her, and she said she wrote that song by clicking her fingernails because it sounded like a typewriter. So the clicking that you hear at the beginning, it's not a typewriter, it's her fingernails. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah. It's like little secrets. I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome.
That's the craziest thing.
I mean, like Blake would have known that, but I mean, like I said, Blake gives the knowledge expert of useful knowledge, so
Yeah.
didn't know that I mean, he could have known that. I don't know, but yeah, but that's really really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think I could sit here and talk to you about music all day. There's one song that my son turned me on to, Older by Ben Platt, is
okay.
such
Oh,
a good song because
older.
it kind of talks about living in the moment. You know
Right.
what I mean? So it's like when you're older, you wish you're younger, and it kind of goes back and forth, but it is just such a beautiful song. And my 19-year-old turned me on to that one. But yeah, so that's my music recommendation for you. You gave me like 5. I'll give you one.
Oh, and before we leave, do you mind if I give you another movie to watch?
Oh yeah, give me another movie. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So since you said you love musicals, right?
Yep.
Have you ever heard of a movie called Repo Man: The Genetic Opera?
I have heard of Repo Man, but not the opera.
Okay, so the movie you watch with Forrest Whitaker,
Yeah.
total rip off of this movie that I want you to. It's called Repo Man: The Genetic Opera, and I don't know if you remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Of course.
but
The
uh,
movie and the TV show.
yes, yes, but
Mhm.
Giles is in this movie and he's singing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, have you seen Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog with
No,
Neil Patrick Harris?
no,
It
I
is
know.
so it's a movie. It's only about 40 minutes long. It's got Neil Patrick Harris, Nathan Fillion, Felicia Day, and Neil Patrick Harris is a mad scientist. So he tries to be a villain, and it's got some of the most amazing music in it, and it's hilarious. My youngest has a couple of songs from it that he uses as audition songs when he was in theater because they're just great. But it's only a 40-minute movie. You have to buy it on Amazon. I think it's like $6, but it is so
Oh,
great. It is just like it's really amazing because just the music is just it's just so funny the way it's done. So yeah, I like the movies where it's like the person comes out of their shell and sings, and you didn't know they could sing and stuff like that.
Well, if you like horror movies and musicals,
Oh yeah,
then
it's on my
then-
list.
there you go. That's it. Yeah, you're gonna love it. Great.
Absolutely. Well, it's been really great. Is there anything that you wanted to cover that I didn't cover? Because ADD brain, I will end up all over the place.
We do have merchandise. Okay, so you can find us on www.whenwordsfailmusicspeaks.com, all one word.
Mhm.
And we do have merchandise. If I can get this up right now, I got the fans sorry. But we have all of our podcasts on that channel. If you can't get it on platforms anywhere else, you can always go to www.whenwordsfailmusicspeaks.com.
Yeah, I
and
know.
then you can
I
This
love
shirt-
the logo. That's so cute. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting a shirt.
Yeah, so to get the shirt, we have a tab on the top of the page. It's called Shop. Click that. Click the little blue icon, and you can buy it in all different colors and sizes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that because I'm very excited, and I'll make sure that the link is added to the website so everybody can find it. Thank you so much for meeting with me. This has been really fun. I have a feeling we're going to have a couple of these where it's
Oh,
just
please do.
like I think I might have blue days where I'm like, James, let's get to do a podcast and try to make me happy with music.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It was really great, and I will make sure that all of the information is on the website.
Also, for all of your listeners and you, please come on to Coverworks. You can get a hold of me by going to email me at james@whenwordsfailmusicspeaks.com, and we'll set it up. Anybody can join. Anybody. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
Also, remember, this show does not contain medical advice that you should follow without speaking to your doctor. If you or someone you know is in crisis, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. You can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.